Alright gang, it is day 1 of following the Norwegian singles approach, or single threshold training. This video is basically going to go over the 3 workouts I'm going to do each week, and it is just the same 3 workouts every week for the next 5 months, pretty much. I've been observing the discussion around this methodology for quite a while. It sounded like something that would work for me and something I would probably like doing, so I was pretty interested in just seeing how the discussion developed, how people felt about it, how people were getting on with it who had already started trying it. It's not that dissimilar to existing training protocols, particularly in cycling. There's a lot of this kind of training, and this is basically just a version of sweet spot training in cycling that's kind of been transferred over to running, but it's not new. It's just coming to the forefront more recently because it's been popularized by a couple of online users. Now, the whole premise behind this specific iteration of it is adapting Norwegian double threshold to lower mileage. Now, you've probably heard people talk about double threshold. It's a pretty common topic in the running community, but for double threshold to work effectively, I guess, you kind of have to be running quite a lot of mileage, and most people probably don't have the time or the capacity to be doing double threshold in a way that makes it effective. I've had a crack at it in the past. It did get me really fit really quickly, but it also just overcooked me because it was too much for what I needed and what I could do at the time, so it wasn't sustainable. Now, single threshold training takes the same approach, but we're doing 3 sub-threshold workouts every week to fit certain pace ranges or effort ranges that build our aerobic base in a similar way to the way that double threshold does, but it does so within the time constraints of someone who is not able to run the high mileage required for double threshold to be properly effective, or simply just doesn't have the time. Now, the method has been popularized by a Let's Run discussion thread. If you don't already use Let's Run, don't. It is a cesspool. Just save yourself the bother. I'll distill the thread for you. Someone wanted to know how to adapt the Norwegian double threshold to lower mileage, and a guy came in on the thread under the online alias Serpoc, discussing how he had essentially been watching what the older Ingebrigtsen brother does, the one who's not a competitive runner, and it's basically just a version of what Jakob does, but with single workouts rather than double workouts. He just watched what Christopher was doing on Strava and copied it, pretty much, with a few alterations to account for what he knew from his cycling background. He'd been following this method for a while. He was entered into the London Marathon. I think it was his first marathon. He was in the championship wave, age 45, I think, when he ran it earlier this year. I think he was in the V45 category, and he ran a 2:24. So that generated quite a lot of excitement around this method running. He was basically running 7 hours a week, a little bit more as he got into marathon training, and he was pretty open that he had modified the method a bit to do some specific marathon work. But yeah, people were pretty excited. More people started trying out and adopting it and finding that their times were improving over 5k, 10k, half marathon, without having to adjust the method much. Now, as to why I want to give it a go, I have dabbled in various other training methods over the years that I've been back to regular running. I tend to find that the more traditional model of a hard interval, a tempo, and a long run doesn't seem to work that well for me. So with this method, you're doing your 3 interval workouts a week at a lower intensity, and it just means that I can do the workouts and still have enough sort of energy and mental bandwidth to get on with the rest of my day, which was the struggle before. Was I just would do these workouts, do my hard interval workout, and I'd just struggle for the rest of the day because I didn't really have the the mental bandwidth to do a hard workout and a successful work day. So that's part of the reason I feel that doing lower intensity workouts more often will fit in better with my life in general. And it means if it fits in better with my life, I'll be able to adhere to it more consistently over time. Whereas with the hard workouts, I might get in 4 or 5 weeks of being able to do it consistently, and then I'd just tail off, lose motivation, really struggle to get myself back on it. So we'll see if this works better. The other reason is that as discussed in previous videos, I'm not an especially talented runner by a lot of metrics, but I think I do have a lot of room for improvement. Now, at the minute, most of that improvement is simply going to come from improving my aerobic base, and I think there's a lot of development to be done there before I even need to think about touching specific speed work. So really what is going to benefit me, and probably quite a lot of people to be fair, the most is a form of training that is pretty simple, is repeatable, that I can do week in, week out for months and months. So we'll see how much more improvement I can make working on the base of the pyramid, but in a slightly more optimized fashion. Over the summer I was pretty much just building my mileage and racing sometimes every week, but usually every couple of weeks, and that was getting me faster. So this is a more structured way of running consistently, slowly building my volume with some intensity in there, but not so much intensity that I will be unable to recover between the workouts. So I'm going to be working hard constantly, but not so hard that I can't perform the next workout. That's the theory. So to start with, we're going to be following this training protocol kind of as prescribed. I'm not going to make any changes to it. I'm just going to use it as suggested. So our 3 workouts each week are 1 long rep workout, 1 medium rep workout, and 1 short rep workout with a minute rest between each rep. Today's workout is going to be the long reps. We're going to be doing 3 10-minute reps with 60 seconds rest. And the idea is to do these ones at around my 30k pace. All right, watch is ready to go, so we are going to get started. Okay, first rep done. Actually bang on target pace. It was an average of 5:19 a kilometre, which is the very slower end of my pace range, which is what I was aiming for today. It's better to undercook these reps than overcook them. Obviously, because this is the first week doing it, I want to try and ease myself in and get a feel for it. So we're aiming for the slower end of the pace range today. I've got about another 15 seconds before the next rep starts. The idea is not to like fully recover, but I also didn't work so hard in that rep that the next rep won't be possible to get straight into. So here we go. Okay, and a rep 2. Yeah, it still felt pretty good. I wasn't looking at the watch when it ticked over to see what my average pace was, so I have to stick that on the screen. But yeah, felt fine. It was in the right pace range. It's a little tricky along this trail because of all the trees. The GPS struggles a bit, so I'm still going to have to kind of learn how the right pace feels and not rely on the watch. The watch is really there just to basically tell me when my intervals are starting and ending. I've got about 15 seconds till the next rep, and I'll catch up with you at the end for some post first session thoughts. And that's rep 3 done. That felt pretty good. Yeah, I feel like I had some work, but that I can go and, go about the rest of my day now. And I feel like I'll be well recovered in time for Wednesday morning's workout. No complaints. That felt nice. I think I can do that every week. It's not an exciting workout, not an especially interesting one, but I think I just need to focus on whatever I can repeat week in, week out for the winter road training block, and that'll be the most surefire way to get what I want out of it. Alright, so the workout today is our medium reps, and that's going to be 4 reps of 6 minutes. This is also of 60 seconds rest, the same as the long rep workout, and the short rep workout will be the same. The rest is the same. So the idea with the long reps was to be doing them at around our 30k-ish pace, and the idea for these ones is to be doing them at around our half marathon pace. At the minute, this has me prescribed at a pace that is slower than my half marathon pace, but that's really not the end of the world. I've got a pace range of 5:03 to 5:13 a kilometre to hit, which I think is fine. I'm going to try and, as I did on Monday, try and hit the slower end of the pace range and try and aim for sort of 5:13 a kilometre. If everything feels totally fine at the end of next week, I might start trying to go a little bit quicker on some of the workouts. I did notice on Monday that my heart rate was running a little bit too high in the first half of the workout, because it is ever so slightly uphill going out on the Don Valley section of the TPT, but my heart rate was fine coming back. So I've obviously just got to take the elevation fluctuations into account. The loop we're using this morning does have some slight elevation fluctuations, so I'm gonna have to deal with that, I guess. So we'll see. This week is about feeling it out, testing it out, seeing how it feels. So yeah, I will catch you out there. The other thing we're doing this morning is testing my first batch of homemade gel. I've gone for the same ratio that they use in the SIS beta gels in terms of the maltodextrin and the fructose. It's not got the same sort of preservatives and stuff in, so it will be living in the fridge until I need it, and I am discovering why gel packets are opaque. This does look like semen. So I will give a little quick update on how this goes down in about half an hour when I take it before my warm-up. Alright, we're at the park. It is pretty nice temperature today at the minute, so hopefully I won't get too sweaty. Just waiting for the watch to get GPS so we can start the workout. I feel okay, I think I slept okay, so this should be hopefully a fairly average session. Okay, let's go. Okay, first rep was too slow. I think it's difficult in Sheffield to find flat loops or stretches to use. So I think I'm just gonna have to maybe spend this session figuring out how hard I need to push or not push on the bits that are up and down on this loop. Like, it's not super hilly, but there's enough like subtle variation. It's just I can't be driving to somewhere for all my workouts. I don't have time. Like, I've got to get this done and get back and eat and shower and get ready to get some work done this morning. So, going again. So we've got to work with what we've got. Okay, I missed the screen for that one. I think it was still a little slower than prescribed pace, but it was faster than the first rep, so we're on the right track in terms of, I think, figuring out how fast to run on different bits of the loop. I'm not sure what my heart rate data is going to look like at the end of this. Might have to adjust things again, because I've just not got a dead flat loop available, so I might have to adjust my paces to account for that. We'll see. Rep 3. Okay, that one was on pace. Definitely working too hard. There's an uphill section back there. I can feel myself working too hard if I don't slow down a lot. That's annoying. I don't know, man. Okay. was the last rep. Got the pacing better, I think. I'm not gonna know for sure till I like get home and have a look at the heart rate data as to whether we need to adjust the paces for this loop. So I'll have to have a think. Morning, it is about 20 to 8. I haven't looked in the mirror at all this morning, so I have no idea what my hair's doing. Now, the Friday session is a little bit more time constrained. I'm coaching a client in about 8 o'clock in 20 minutes. And then between my first client and my second client is when I get my session done. So I have an hour, hour, 10 minutes to get it done, basically. This is the first time I will have done the full session between clients. So it's still a bit of a test run. If this really doesn't work, I'm going to have to move it around a bit. But my warm-up's just shorter than the other two interval workouts, and my cool-down's a bit shorter. And the session itself is probably about 5k of volume. I think we're going to be doing 8 by 3 minutes at about half marathon pace is the workout for today. Anyway, I'm going to go get sorted out, get a coffee, coach, and then run, and I'll catch you in a bit. Okay, just getting the warm-up done. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes, because I am literally just running around the industrial estate area for my warm-up, and then basically doing a roughly mile loop around next to the A61. So it's not interesting, but it's flat, and it is helpfully right next to work, so is what it is. We'll make the most of it. The homemade gel that I made on Monday has been working nicely. It was good for the Wednesday workout. Had some just now. Yeah, no complaints. Seems to be fine. I think it's a good substitute for paying for the expensive gels that come with the downside of just having loads of extra packaging that they generate. So looking forward to playing around with that a bit more. We'll see if things need tweaking. Yeah, this week has more been about testing out the plan to see if it works and if it fits in around. I don't think I'm going to get a lot filmed during the workout itself, just because it's so busy, like along the loop, and it's just car noise. So I don't really feel like there's that much point in me filming during the workout. So I might just drop in between reps if it feels appropriate. Slight aside, this is the remainder of a piece of graffiti by the artist Flem. It used to be a lot bigger, but they've knocked part of the wall down. It's a bit sad. There's a lot of Flem stuff around Sheffield, and he's a really interesting graffiti artist. Worth looking up. Okay, quick shoe change. I do a lot of my warm-ups and stuff in stuff that cannot really be even considered a shoe, to be honest. They're socks with soles on them, just because I quite like having the extreme variation between no support and then the nice bouncy cushioning of my workout shoes. For anyone interested, I'm using the Topo Cyclone 2s. These were my race shoes, but they've been demoted to workout shoe, and I've basically got a newer version to race in. For the 10k and a half, just picked up the Cyclone 3s. Not willing to deviate at the minute because I really like the shoes. Alright, I think that went pretty well. My heart rate got a little high on some of the reps, I think, but generally that felt fine. Like, it wasn't easy, but certainly I don't feel like I went super into the well either, which is good because I need to do another hour of coaching and do my climbing session. I'm in a slightly odd spot with my Friday morning clients at the minute, because although my specialism is strength training for endurance sport, over recent months I've ended up on a bit of a side quest to become a lower back specialist, which was not intentional. Life has a way of throwing these things at you. Both my Friday morning clients are lower back problem clients rather than running focused clients. I guess it's nice to have a bit of variety. Okay, if you watched my last video, you might be thinking right about now, Jess, you're targeting a 45-minute 10k, but this training plan doesn't have any VO2 max or 10k pace work in it. And yeah, that is a correct observation. And I agree that it does sound counterintuitive for me to be targeting that kind of time and not doing any even race pace work. However, as discussed at the beginning, this method has seen a lot of success across the people who are picking it up and trying it out. There's still a lot of discussion in the thread on Let's Run. There's now a Strava group dedicated to discussing it, and there is a constant steady stream of people who are finding that their times are improving significantly if they just follow this method for months and months. The key thing here is the consistency over time. And as I said at the beginning, building up the volume of certain types of running intensity, so building up my overall volume and increasing my aerobic capacity, and then working in this sub-threshold range for these 3 workouts a week, builds the base of that pyramid in a way that is sustainable for me to maintain for months and months and months. And as I've mentioned previously, I have just got faster off running more and racing a bit. So the other thing that is important to take into consideration with this method is that it does recommend that you do some sort of race effort, preferably a 5k, every kind of maybe 4 to 5 weeks. So I am going to do that. But the overall consistency is the most important thing for me. That's where I've seen the biggest improvements so far in my running, is when I've just nailed the consistency and I've maintained good volume with some effort in there. And this is, as I said at the beginning, just a more optimized way of doing that. I'm not an elite runner, so the overall goal of my training is to get better without it negatively impacting the rest of my life. Again, as I said, I can perform these workouts and then still get on with the rest of my day, have a successful work day where my concentration and energy levels aren't massively affected. I'm not expecting miracles. I think I do have a lot of room for improvement, but I'm quite willing to just put in a lot of time and effort over the long term to achieve the goals I'm after. As to how the first week of training has felt, it's felt great. I've got no complaints so far. I'm a bit surprised it's felt as good as it has, because I'm in luteal phase, which is normally where I start to feel less energy, and I feel like I've got a bit less power output. So it's been nice to kind of be in the worst performance section of my cycle and still felt good, but we'll see how things go as the mileage builds up. This week will come to about 87k. Next week I will clip above 90. Week after that I'll get to 100, and then I'll sit there, because after the 10k I'm just going to carry on training. Basically, there's not going to be a break or a reset or anything. The 10k is a step on the way to the half marathon. So my legs have felt fine. Physically, the rest of me has felt basically fine in terms of sort of mental load and thought processing and whatnot. I am going to finish up this long run. The next video will not be a running video, it'll be checking in on how my pull-up progress is going. After that, I think we're on running videos for a good while. So if you're interested in keeping tabs on how my 10k training is going, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you in the next one.